video is brought to you by Squarespace. Hello there, my name is Kira and I am weak. You see, in the past couple of years, my tolerance for cold weather has absolutely evaporated. We're talking, whenever it drops below 60 degrees at the end of October, I begin suffering and I'm almost always shivering whenever I go outside between the months of November and March. But I wasn't always this way. I'm actually from the northeastern United States and I used to love the cold, especially the snow. Snow is the only redeeming quality about cold weather and it literally never snows here. Instead, it is wet and humid and I feel like human soup. But last week I took a trip back to my home city of Pittsburgh and experienced some of the harshest temperatures that I've had to endure in a long time. But it was all worth it because there was actually snow. I mean, look at this white stuff. How I've missed you. Coincidentally, this Snow Queen dress design that I did last year has been living rent-free in my head for the past 14 months. I meant to make it during the last winter season, but just didn't get the opportunity. And since I have recently been invigorated with the first sights of real snow that I have seen in years and am full of snowy inspiration, now feels like the perfect opportunity to create an elaborate Ice Queen look.
My initial design for this look was a showgirl-inspired long-line corset dress with a structured shoulder capelet that used up a bunch of spare materials I already had on hand. This time around, I decided I wanted to update the design a little bit and add a little bit more contrast. I wanted to keep the general design of the corset dress since I already had the materials, and I of course wanted to keep the icicle decorations and sparkly beaded applique on the corset, but I also wanted to add a deep blue royal cloak trimmed with some faux fur to bring in a softer snowy vibe. I wanted to add a pair of matching sleeves with snowflake-inspired decorations on them, and I wanted to potentially add an icicle-inspired crown and necklace to really drive home the Snow Queen look. I kind of want to leave this design open to evolution as I work on it in case I get any other cool ideas, but I think this is a pretty good starting point.
But first, with the new year coming up, you might be thinking about taking your small business or passion project to the next level in 2025, and you can create a stunning website for your new ventures using this video sponsor, Squarespace. With Squarespace, I could set up my portfolio site in just about an hour and could begin by choosing from dozens of professionally designed flexible website templates that I could then customize with my desired text, colors, website graphics, and additional pages. From there, I could set up a Squarespace store that customers can easily access from my website, so if people look at my artwork and want to print, they can begin browsing my store with the click of a button. Squarespace's e-commerce platform has tools to accommodate whichever kind of seller you are, whether you make your merchandise yourself and need shipping labels, inventory management, in-person payment options with point of sale and sales analytics, or if you're a more casual seller like me and just want to offer print-on-demand prints and merchandise through their custom merch feature that will handle inventory production and shipping for you. And with their huge array of flexible payment options like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay, shopping is always accessible for your customers. So if you're interested in creating a website for your passion project in 2025, head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/PricklyAlpaca to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Okay, so I've scrounged through my fabric stash, and these are the materials we're working with this week.
Just floor rat activities.
Floor rat activities. Ellie is here too. Would you like to say hello?
Hi. Very demure.
Very demure. Anyways, so I have this fabric that I scrounged from the thrift store like a rat years ago. I haven't used it yet, so I think this is going to be the base for the corset. And then I also have like way too much of this. I don't even remember what it is. It's like that fabric word that I can never pronounce or remember. I have probably 5 yards of this, so this is probably gonna be layering for the corset and also skirt. I don't know if I'm going to use this, but it's here.
Organza?
Close to organza. It's like almost organza, but it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not.
What else do we have? And then I have this sparkly material. And then also things that I might use. I have these wings that I just bought on Etsy for something else and then never made. So I don't know if I'm going to use these, but they match the not organza. So I figure like it can be useful somehow maybe. Would this be cute if I put it like on the hips of the corset?
I think that would be cute.
I think that would be very cute.
A little burlesque-y.
It is.
Somebody called Cher. Cher, bitch. That's what Cher says.
Can you tell them what Cher says?
She goes, I'm Cher, bitch.
She sure is. So for this corset, I'm going to be using the Spend corset pattern that I've used 1,000 times before because it is delightful and I love it. I do have a mock-up that's sort of already made that fit me previously, but I don't know if it still fits me or not because your girl's been on vacation. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm going to assess that and see if I can still use that pattern or like reprint it and redo the mock-up, which I don't really want to do, but it might be necessary. Either way, we're about to get knees deep in some canvas, so let's do that.
You know all that stuff I said about mock-ups and doing things the correct way? Well, I was a little bit behind time-wise on the front end of this project, so since I tried on the first version of this corset that I made and it fit perfectly, I decided to take the existing pattern that I had and go directly into cutting it out on my fashion fabric. Does that mean I cut into the only portion of rare thrifted fabric I had without doing so much as one try-on of the pattern? Sure. Sort of, but isn't it more exciting and suspenseful that way? We are trying to make an interesting video here after all. And isn't the unknown the part of life that makes things interesting, exciting? The possibility of an unexplored outcome, the thrill of problem solving, the frustration and anguish of failure. Oh, anyway, the fabric's cut out now. So after giving all of my fabric pieces a steamy interlude with my iron and snapping a table into existence? Wow, that's crazy impressive. I was on to the tedious task of transferring all of my boning channels, busk lines, and grommet holes onto my fabric, which of course is followed by the even more tedious task of pinning on bias tape, which I'm using as my boning channels, sewing said bias tape boning channels onto every single panel of the corset, and then while I'm at it, stitching all of the panels of the lining layer together. Now I could just go ahead and be efficient and finish this corset right now, if it weren't for the fact that I forgot to buy zip ties, which is what I use instead of actual boning, because apparently I'm a lovely red crustacean who runs a fast food establishment in an underwater town named after swimming panties. I'm cheap. So until I can purchase some new zip ties, let's shift gears and focus a little bit on kicks.
So originally in this design, I had some kind of like structured jacket capelet thing going on, and it was also in that lighter blue material. I did that about a year ago, and I have since kind of pivoted my desires for the capelet jacket situation. I decided I wanted something that had like a little bit more contrast. So the other day, I went on a little adventure to the Joann's, which some of you know is like an hour from me. It's truly like an entire side quest to go down to the Joann's and look at fabrics in person. But I did. And I came home with this beautiful, vibrant, like royal blue crushed velvet that I think would just make the most majestic full cloak. This? I mean, come on. I also neglected to bring any of my actual fabric samples with me to the Joann, and miraculously, I actually think my combination of fabrics is like absolutely gorgeous. I know that every single comment on this video is gonna be like, oh my god, it's Elsa. That's what I'm trying to avoid here today. This is my own creation, my own design. Piss off. I'm also now wondering, a lot of the designs I see these have like them draped on the shoulders, like a little feathery epaulette, and I'm wondering now, should I do that with the cloak? Or should I leave them as like little hip pieces? I also do have a couple of those that are more of like a salmon pink color that I ordered by accident. So I'm kind of thinking, what if I take those and then dye them to be more of a blue color? Blue is darker than pink. Does that work color theory wise? I don't know. I've done weirder things. Let me scrounge in my box like a rat and see if I can find them. I have this one. Where's the other one? Where did you go? Okay, here we go. I thought I had two of these. Hi, Tiger. Oh. Well, that's new. I have more. What? Oh. Why did I buy so many of these? Hello? Well, we have options now. Hi. Hello, baby. Okay, so turns out I do have two more additional blue wing pieces, so I could do both the little hip pieces and the ones on the shoulder if I want. I could also dye these a darker blue if I want to and have like even more. But first, before I deal with any of that, I need to pattern out the cloak and figure out exactly what I'm doing here, because there's a lot of fabric, there's a lot of potential here. I also do not feel like finishing a bunch of hems today, so I'm going to see if I can figure my way around that. So for the cloak, first I need to figure out generally how tall I want to make it. So how tall am I in inches? Honestly, I feel like if I made the height of the cloak as long as just a standard measuring tape, 60 inches, I feel like that would turn out pretty good, but I do want it a little bit longer than that because I think I do want kind of a train effect. I think this piece of fabric is plenty long to be able to do that. So I think the method here, if I have enough material, basically a half circle cloak, but I'm gonna just like lay this out, figure out if this is going to work with the amount of fabric I have, because I was kind of on a budget whenever I bought this. I would love if I could make it kind of neutral so I can also wear it with my like blue porcelain armor, because it's been missing a cloak for a while. The thing about doing this in a half circle is that I don't think I have the length, because this is probably a 60-inch wide piece of fabric. It's 60. Let me lay down. I have like honestly a pretty decently long cloak, but then it wouldn't have the train. But is the train necessary? Is the train going to become a liability if I film the reveal for this and it's a rainy day and I get pine straw all up in it? Decisions. Okay, after thinking for entirely too long, I think I am just going to do half circle cloak and do the 60-inch length. Maybe. I think. I need to like stop this recording. I've been recording for way too long. The other possibility here, more of a pizza triangle, and it's just like a lot longer. I could also do that. But then it would be less of a typical cloak. Is it that important? See, there's entirely too many important decisions to be made for my brain. I'm gonna make this decision off camera, and then I will come back to you because I'm wasting memory card space. Fun fact, I haven't made a decision yet. I don't want to waste fabric. I don't want it to be too big and girthy as to distract from the corset that I'm about to spend like 40 hours making. And I don't want to waste fabric. I don't know what to do. I was correct in the first clip that I had. I did the 60 inches, I did the half circle, and I do feel like we have obtained the desired effect. Like, this is pretty majestic. Wow, I feel like I'm fleeing to Mordor right now to toss a gold ring into the fire. Can you feel the amount that I'm about to cast that gold ring into the fire? Uh-oh. I love it. In addition to the cloak, instead of the little capelet thing I was going to do, I think I'm going to make my signature half sleeves because they're really easy to make out of a stretch like velvety fabric. And I apparently have an aesthetic weakness for this. It's in every single one of my costumes. And the fact that it's overused isn't gonna keep me from using it again. But of course for this, we have a guest star that I need to use in order to pattern them out. Where is she? Please welcome the lovely Jessica. Thank you for being here today. So arm things should be around like 21 inches unfinished. Now we have to simply take our Jessica and pin fabric around her.
And at this point, I had acquired new zip ties. So once I sewed on all of those little bias tape boning channels and assembled the outer layer of the corset itself, I could grab a bunch of those little zip ties and begin cutting them to length and installing them. Once those were installed, I cut a couple of pieces of canvas to length to reinstall the back two panels where the grommets are going to go later, and did the same with the front two panels. I also sewed on a long boning channel that runs along the hips. This really helps to add structure to the corset and really give it its shape. Weirdly enough, I was out of zip ties again, so I couldn't put boning in these channels yet. Instead, I continued to installing the busk, which basically consists of sewing some slits for the tube side to slip into, poking some holes with an awl for the pegged side to slip into, and then sewing both of those pieces tightly between the two corset layers with a zipper foot. And at this point, this corset is almost ready to fully finish up, but I do need more zip ties.
So at this point, I'm pretty close to finishing up the corset, but I did not buy enough zip ties the other day whenever I was out buying them. So this is gonna have to wait to be fully finished up until I can get more of those. Really, I need zip ties for these big old long boning channels along the hips, and I need the big ones for those. It's fine. In the meantime, I did acquire some glitter glue, and before I stitch up the sleeves, I'm kind of thinking about putting some kind of a snowflake design on them just to, zhuzh them up a little bit. I don't know exactly how well that is going to turn out because I don't know, glitter, crushed velvet, it could go a number of different ways. But I'm at least gonna give it a shot because I do have some of this spare fabric if I need it. Cute little snowflake design coming up from where the hand is gonna be. And that way, these can have some time to dry before I actually stitch them up. RTX GeForce Experience boxes to hold it down. I'm gonna see if I can take this slow as to not ruin everything immediately. And I'm thinking as much to the middle of my fabric as I can. Ooh, there we go. I tried to get fabric glitter and they just didn't have it. But you know what? You do what you can. And my I'm now realizing that I kind of don't know what a snowflake looks like off the top of my head, and I don't have reference right now because my phone decided to break for no reason yesterday. Yeah, a little bit. Just make this one a long sucker. Snowflakes have like a little circle, right? And maybe like that. There we go. Oh, she's thick. That's kind of pretty, actually. Well, we did not mean to do that. It's all good. I'm really trying not to let this get into like spider web territory, but I'm a little afraid that we're already there. Maybe we can do like some of this. How do we feel about this? I feel like it's kind of cute. What do you think? I think it needs some little pearls. I think that it maybe does. So I don't think I'm gonna go too crazy on the beads. I just want beads in a couple of places where the paint is all puffed up. How do we feel about that? Is it pretty? I'm really loving the fact that I'm gonna have to copy this design exactly onto the other sleeve. I also was not as careful as I should have been whenever I was cutting the like fashion side pieces out, because there's a slightly different sheen on either side of this fabric. This outside side is a little bit shinier. It has more of that ice effect that I'm going for. And the inside side is just a little bit more dull. So I accidentally marked some of the pattern pieces on the outer fabric side with a magenta acrylic paint marker.
This guy stinks!
I might just pop some of this over, try to distract from that, and if that doesn't work, I can always try actually washing it. It actually looks kind of sick. Okay, so adding glitter was highly experimental, but I kind of love the result. I ended up kind of going wild and adding a bunch of glitter like around the boobage area on the hips, just generally trying to make it look like the corset is kind of frozen and has reflecting snow on it. I think for an unplanned decorative step, it actually has a pretty good effect to it. I like it better now than I did whenever it was just plain. I am being very careful as to not ruin my drying glitter. Let me see. Trying to very carefully demonstrate the overall effect. So it'll be easier whenever it's dry, but like these are the icy reflective vibes. Okay, so while that's all drying and I'm on a little side quest to go and find some zip ties, I need to add some of the fleece fluffy trim to the neck and the bottom hem of the little cloak. Let me put on my tent. Tiger's being really angry right now. I don't even know why. It's not raining. She's just knocking things off shelves. Ma'am, see, nightlight, little guy. Hi. Anyways, she's trying to knock down a flashlight now. If you hear a kerplonk, it is because she has knocked down a flashlight. So I have like a little bit of this material left over from a couple of other projects, which I can use. I might use this piece for the neck area. I also just got some fleece plush something. I think that this is about 1.5 yards long, so I'm going to have to sew some of this together. But if I sew it in a couple of different sections and kind of fold it over like so, it should hopefully be long enough. So let's try to do a little bit of maths, cut this out, because I want to get to decorating right now. Oh, that's what gets her down. I have to lay out a rectangle. Are you ready for some girl math, otherwise known as just normal math? I don't know how far I want this to fold over. Maybe 4 inches? Yeah. So we'll do an 8-inch cut. Hi, Tiger. Did you find yourself a big rectangle? She's so happy. She found a really big rectangle to sit on.
It's an excellent rectangle.
I don't know if this is actually going to be long enough, but I did consult the all-knowing oracle, otherwise known as Google.com.
Find out how much I needed. I put the full radius, including the length of trim, into a circumference calculator, divided the circumference in feet in half since this is a half cloak, and then converted that number to yards, and that is roughly the amount of fabric that I ended up needing in the end.
And that is how you make a scarf that snows on you in under 4 minutes. Thanks for watching. All right, now I guess I'm going to pin this on my cloak and see if it's enough. Again, this is just one of those situations where you do the thing and find out if it works. It's every video on my channel too.
So then I pinned all of that trim to the bottom of the cloak, did a couple of swirl tests where I aggravated my house guest, sewed up a strip of fabric and flipped it inside out for the collar and then pinned it on, and then I just sewed everything together, which, as you may guess, did take an eternity. Thanks for asking.
So I'm being a little bit lazy with the collar on the cloak, but that's because I'm likely going to repurpose this piece of fabric to make the cloak for my porcelain armor. So I kind of just need it to do what it's supposed to for the time being. But I also want it to drape around the shoulders like this. This is how I want the cloak to wear. So I'm kind of wondering, since this is a stretch fabric, can I just take some freaking ribbon or something, sew it onto these ends here, and then just tie it behind my back with tension so that this sits properly and I can still have my arms out? I think I'm gonna try that, and if it works, the cloak is done. I'm not gonna mess around with the cloak anymore. I'll give you guys an update in a second here.
2 seconds later.
All right, that took 2 seconds and it worked perfectly. It's one of those sewing moments that I feel should be illegal because of how much I didn't do this the correct way, and it still turned out looking pretty decent. That happens to me a lot, and one of these days, my luck's gonna run out, but it wasn't today, thankfully.
At this point, my sleeves were also finally dry, so it's time to once again bring in Jessica. The sleeves, I just took those finished pieces of fabric and pinned them inside out to Jessica, making sure to give them a tight fit where they need one, and then I sewed down that line inside out with a zigzag stitch, making sure to also finish the top and bottom edges, and there you go, perfect fit, sleeves are done. Also, it was so weird. Somewhere in this time, someone broke into my sewing room and left the exact right zip ties that I needed just lying around. It was weird, but at least I could finally install those in the hip boning channels. After I did that, I could finally add bias binding to the top and bottom of the corset. So I trimmed both layers so that they were even and pinned all of my bias binding into place, and then sewed all of that down. For some reason, I have a 10-minute uncut recording of this experience. I also added some boning inside of the bias tape to just give it a little extra shape. But with the bias binding on and the back panel sewed up, it was now time to poke tiny holes for all of the many grommets that are going to be installed in this. So I did all that very reluctantly, and with my freshly delivered shiny bag of new grommets, I took to setting all of these by hand, and I hated every second of it. Look, I know everyone just keeps telling me to get a grommet press, and I really should. I just, you know, we've talked about this, but after lacing all of those grommets up rabbit ear style and trying this corset on for the first time completely blindly, the corset was finally completely done and it fit pretty much perfectly. That's now 2 big bullet dodges for this video, and I don't know how much I can ride on this luck into the new year.
Corset is now done, sleeves are now done, cloak is well underway and kind of almost done, but I also need to keep messing around with the collar a little bit. So now I need to shift to focusing on trying to drape the skirt section of the corset and then also decorating everything up. A crown also needs to happen somewhere in all of this. So hi, update. I'm thinking about being a little bit lazy. So originally in my design, I have this whole skirt situation as a lot more of a showgirl inspired look. Kind of strips of fabric hanging down, trying to be reminiscent of icicles, I suppose. I planned it that way because I have so much of this on hand. And like 2 things. Thing number 1, it's probably gonna be really cold whenever I film the reveal for this, and although I do have thermal tights, my legs are just gonna be out. So I don't know if a showgirl inspired look is the most conducive to me and my weakness. Thing number 2, I do just so happen to have this skirt that I just dug out of storage that matches this corset perfectly. And this is sort of what we're looking at here. Very flowy, a lot more overall coverage. And again, if that just isn't the perfect blue for this corset. I don't know what is. Should I try it on with the corset? So this is kind of the effect with the corset on. I'm thinking I could do though, get more of the silhouette of my original design. Bunch and scrunch the skirt up in a couple of places, because I still haven't made hip pads or bum pads or anything, even though I desperately should. Sort of do a drape kind of like that, which honestly to me is pretty cute, and I feel like this does get across a lot of the general idea of what I had before without wasting fabric and making a whole new garment that I might not wear very often. I'm kind of in the mood to get a little bit lazy tonight and just get to the fun details that I want to work on, instead of draping an annoying skirt that I don't care about all that much to begin with. It's Christmas. I just want to eat a slice of lasagna and sew little icicles onto this corset, so I think that's what I'm gonna do.
While I had the skirt on, I also tried it on with the rest of the accessories and was really feeling the vibe, and even felt the urge to do some cloak zoomies.
So for the icicle crown, one of the methods that I see people using on Pinterest to make these kinds of crowns is to basically get a headband, which I have already made here out of just some craft wire, and then as a base, just put some zip ties around it upstanding, and then take hot glue and basically put it over the zip ties in kind of a formation that looks like an icicle or like ice, and then you can kind of like add decorations to that, build on top of it, make it look all frozen and stuff. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. I don't think it's going to be too difficult. It should work pretty well. So assuming those things are true, I might also take some beads and stick that in there. I don't know, this is getting into like the experimental decoration part of the evening. Also, I knew I wouldn't have a ton of time to make icicles from scratch or from hot glue to actually put on the corset and on the rest of the costume. So a couple of months ago at this point, I purchased a bunch of icicle ornaments. So I'm going to be using these draping off of the corset in a couple of places. I might also use some on the crown if I have enough, but I think I'm gonna try to use mostly hot glue for that. I also got a couple that are snowflakes just to be a little bit fancier in a few places. And then I also have a ton of leftover beading from my cathedral vampire costume that I made for Halloween. So I can drape this off in a couple of places as well. I have lots of things to play with here. I'm very excited. So I'm gonna get started on the crown, and then if that goes well, I'm gonna go from there.
Working on the crown, I also decided to make this icicle necklace that's in my design sheet. For this, I twisted together another base out of wire and assembled the whole thing basically the same way, using mostly hot glue icicles, then also using an icicle ornament in the center just to add some variation and make it a little bit more sparkly. I also added some glitter glue to everything to enhance that sparkle, and turned some of those icicle ornaments into earrings to complete the look. Okay, now that my crown and necklace and earrings are all finished up, it's finally time to begin decorating the actual corset. And I have been waiting for this for so long. I'm really excited with the little ornaments that I was able to get. I've already been kind of figuring out good places for these to go. This is going to be so elaborate in the end, and I'm really excited. So like I said, I of course have these ornaments that I want to use on there. I have my little icicles, and then I also have my little feather applique. It has that drippy sort of pattern to it. I feel like the shapes are right. It could work. I do quite like how this looks on the hip of the corset. That really just is another layer of texture, dimension. So I think I'm also going to put one set just draping and cascading down the shoulders of the cloak. I think that
that with this on the hip will look very nice and layered, and tie these two pieces together. Yes, I think. So for now, I'm just gonna go in, start sewing, because I have quite a bit of hand sewing to do to get all of this attached. While I do that, I am going to watch a pseudo Christmas movie. So my pseudo inspiration right there. There she is. Look at her. Okay. Also, look at this sweet baby. Got a little paw over her face. It's adorable. How am I supposed to work under such distracting conditions? Okay. Hey, why do so many of you guys think I look like this guy? Huh? What do you mean I look like him? And with that, my associate and I would like to declare this costume officially done. What are your thoughts and opinions on the finished product? Insightful. With all that said, I have absolutely no idea what any of this looks like together on, so without any further ado, it is time for the reveal. And maybe actually a little makeup session before the reveal so that I can do a snowy makeup look. We'll see. Hello, welcome to, for once, doing my makeup with me for the reveal. I've never done this before. I'm really bad at putting makeup on camera, and it's the reason why I haven't done this before, so bear with me. So I think for the makeup look for this reveal, I want to do something similar to this or this. I think this time around, I want my skin to be kind of like sort of cold. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of goth white and just do like my eyelids. That was more intense than I expected. It's fine. We'll blend it. Just sort of want to look very cold. I want to look as cold as I feel. Do I look pretty yet? With everything on my channel, I want you guys to please just trust the process here. So the reason I'm doing all of this is that I want to try my very best. Do more of a blue eyeshadow with this, like so. I think I just want like a blue eyelid. This is pretty sad so far. It's not blue enough. Okay, that's something. I'm starting to realize why I've never done this before. Some of my issue is that the makeup that I'm using, like the blue, is perhaps some of the lowest quality makeup that I have ever encountered in my entire life. I have Maybelline Baby Lips stuff. Gonna put it here. Also, I'm gonna put it here. So I have been kind of doing a very faint black eyebrow recently. And then I bleached my roots again. So let's see if this is too intense. I feel like this black is probably too intense. It's fine. I'm gonna, I think, go in a little sunset. Sort of go underneath my eyelids. Sort of like that. Go around my mouth and nose too. Just do that thing where you look really cold and congested. Now I think we eyeliner, which I just bear with me. I'm gonna have to look over here. You see how hooded my eyes are? So the method that I do whenever I do my eyeliner is I kind of squint up a little bit the way I am whenever I'm smiling, because if I don't do that, I just draw it out the way I think it should look. Whenever I smile, it looks weird. So I go up like that, sort of out and down like that. I take this line, I connect it to where the top of my pupil is, basically. It's like a little triangle. And then I usually open my eye and look down. See how it kind of goes down and then out? I want it to be straighter. So then I'll connect it even more. See, it like kind of goes out and up. Then whenever I look straight ahead, it looks more normal. I think this is the way most people with hooded eyes do it, but it took me a long time to figure it out. So I figured I would share. Ta-da. And then I'll usually just draw up in my upper waterline, or whatever the heck this is called. I'm not a YouTuber. I also have really sensitive eyes on the inner corners, so I'll get like something like this to do that. I've stabbed myself in the eye too many times with the liquid eyeliner. And there it is. Now we're gonna do lashes. Next, I'll usually go in with this Urban Decay palette, and I'll just get like the lightest sparkly color, like this one. I'll just put this on the inside here. Once I do that, I'll do like the little Another thing I'll do sometimes is go in with a slightly darker shadow and just like fill in underneath my wing. I got some new e.l.f. lip stains. Thinking about doing like a nice red lip. I feel like that's classic. I feel like a lip stain is just like a versatile thing to have because you don't have to just put it on your lips. So get some lip oil. Really going for kind of like porcelain doll lips. I did sort of like a blue look for I think New Year's a couple of years ago. I think I did do sort of like a blue blush sort of thing. It did make me look pretty cold. Your skin is literally turning purple. I would say you're feeling quite cold. This is gonna look a little atrocious at first, but bear with me. Rosy cheeks, but with a little blue. Okay, time to roll up the sleeves because we're gonna put some acrylic paint on my face. I'm gonna do like little white freckles, sort of like that. Again, this is so hard to do in the viewfinder. Like, how does anyone do this? Oh, that's a good one right there. Would it be cute if I did like a white scar through my eyebrow slit? And before you ask, no, Vi was not the reason that I cut myself an eyebrow slit. That was Ellie from The Last of Us. Okay, I think sort of last, I want to do white eyelashes just to kind of make it look like little bits of snow are getting caught in my eyelashes. I would have done white eyeliner, but I don't have any, and I feel like I can't be putting acrylic paint that close to my eye. Let me also disclaim, don't do this. Don't do things simply because a dumb YouTuber is doing the thing. Also, I've done this before with the same paint and I can see. What do you think? All right, now I'm going to go back in with my sort of highlighter color here. I'm gonna do a tiny bit on my nose, and a tiny bit here, and a tiny bit here. And I also still have to do my hair. It's not styled at all, so let me do that off camera real quick. Okay, hair is done, and I am promptly losing daylight, so I will see all of you guys in the reveal. Hello, and welcome to the end of the video. I am actually cold now. My hands are like little popsicles. As a quick wrap up, I'm pretty thrilled with how this costume came out. Obviously, went a little bit lighter on the complexity of the construction for like the sleeves and the cloak. Obviously, all of the jewelry since it's literally made out of hot glue. But considering, I think it turned out pretty good, especially by actually placing a few real like resin clear ornaments in there. It helps to blend in with some of the like not so clear material of the hot glue. Overall, the corset itself was kind of the main attraction of this video and of this project, especially putting all of the little dangly ornaments on it. And as I reflected a little earlier in this video, I think this corset turned out magnificently. I'm really satisfied with it. The fit is nearly perfect. The shape is really nice. I mean, I should really make some bum pads and hip pads eventually so that these corsets actually like do what they're supposed to. For anyone who doesn't know, this is without any kind of padding. And when you shove something in here, do I have anything on hand? I wonder. Will a Grogu pillow work for an example? This is probably a really bad example, but when you shove something in here, the shape actually gets so much more dramatic. Again, bad material to show as an example, but eventually I need to actually make hip pads so that my corsets actually look the way they're supposed to. But on its own, it still looks pretty good. It gives a pretty dramatic shape that I really like. I need to really just make one of these in black to wear around because so far the two that I've made are in like bright cool colors, which are colors that I don't really wear much at all outside of costumes. But I'm still really happy that I made them. Really proud of the construction and everything. If I had one complaint about the reveal look, I wish that I hadn't hiked up my skirt the way I did. It looks more normal in like the illustration that I did for it, but I wore slightly darker tights than I probably should have because these are thermal and I knew I was going to get cold. I should have worn white tights, and that combined with the boots and the shorter cropped cut, I don't know, it didn't match the drama that was that giant cloak. Like, the cloak kind of stole the show. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really happy with it. I can't wait to try it on with my armor and figure that whole thing out. But I wish that I had just worn this skirt the way it's intended to be worn. Just a high-low, long-ish circle skirt, which this is what it would look like had I done that. I think it matches the shape and the drama of the cloak a lot more than what I actually did in the reveal. I wish I had done it differently, but it's fine. Anyways, I hope you guys are all having a wonderful, safe holiday season. This is my next to last video for the entire year, so I do have one more illustration focused video coming out closer to New Year's, so please do look forward to that. If you want to stick around for that and be notified, you should subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you want to show some affection to the video, like the video, tell it it's pretty, and if you want to leave a comment for the almighty algorithm, especially since I haven't really uploaded that much this month, leave a little snowflake emoji or like a snowman or something. But thank you so much for watching till the end if you did. But as always, the biggest thank you for this video and every single one of my videos goes to my majestic, frozen, struggling to come up with another adjective, patrons, and especially my executive producers.
Lucifer, I Do TKD, Ren, Band Off the Yellow, Cloud Max, Marita Wasner, Philly Smelly, Stabby Horse, Holding Space for Me That Espresso, Ember Creeps, Cardia X, Christina Kamtia Art, Call Me Ash, Blaze Ravenscar, Lunira, Fiasco, Mossy Raven, Aries and Apollo, I'm not saying that name on the internet, ABW Makes, Icecavan, Awendu, Liana, Ermler Jean, Breeza, Brian, Phoenix, PNG Not Found, Freedom and Gus Gus, Cat, Dodo, Zyle S, Agent Sketchy, Thea Maia, Lovisa, Eloquent Silence, Hypnos, Katie, Sweet Winter Garden, Gravity Drop, I Hang Out with Cats at Parties, and Bean the Bread.
Tiger. Tiger.